looks like Facebook time, excuse me, pardon me. I just swallowed wrong because it looks like Facebook keeps timing out on us today. So welcome back. I am sorry for all the technical challenges with Facebook. And sorry I swallowed wrong as I was yelling at Facebook, but I wanted to get back to your guys' questions. So I appreciate you all hanging in there, including Mr. Masai, my tabby cat, who's right here out of frame. So welcome back, everyone. So we were talking about the biggest change in demeanor, and I was talking about Sabrina the Tiger. And if you guys remember her story, her owner passed away, and he passed away of a meth overdose. He was actually strung out and died of dehydration. But she was hogtied and put in a horse trailer, and sadly, they used a cattle drug on her, which actually causes her to be paralyzed, but she's completely aware. And so I can only imagine how upset she was. But with operant conditioning, we have spent several times with her just sitting at the fence calmly, giving her those little pieces of beef so she gets rewarded for sitting there, but she can't get up and walk away. And if you watch the live post I did about a month ago, or even a little less, she's come a long way. She's still Sabrina, and she's going to always be Sabrina. She's not going to be like the trio, but getting that trust from her was amazing. I'm going to have to clear my throat one more time, so I apologize, but I swallowed wrong. It is not COVID-19. I just swallowed wrong. Aurora asked, is there a traumatic moment or something that really motivated me to do this? Not originally in the beginning. I think most of you know the story, and that I was at a photo shoot in advertising and was upset how cats were treated, and that's how I got involved, and I wasn't happy about that. But the most traumatic experience I had was when I had been volunteering for a place I didn't know was bad, because I didn't know what I did now, but I know it wasn't right. And when I would volunteer there, cats would reappear, and cats I cared for went missing. And on one time, Simba the lion went missing, and I asked where he was, and he had been traded for some cougar kittens. And that owner of that facility thought it would make me feel better if he drove to show me where he had traded Kimba. And sadly, when we got there, Kimba had about maybe a 15 by 15 square foot area, no longer than 6 feet tall. He was bloody in the face from running, or Simba, sorry, not Kimba, Kimba's ours, Simba, from just going in circles. And that was devastating enough. I was done with the place. But when we went to leave, they brought us into a barn. And this gentleman was also a fur farmer. And he had, I don't know if they were bobcats or lynx, I'm trying to remember, all in these teeny, like 12 by 18 inch boxes. And all you could see was these eyes out of the drill holes of these metal boxes, and all the hissing and freaking out, because they were all there to be electrocuted for fur. And at that time, I vowed that this was the most cruel industry, because this was a roadside zoo. He was a private collector. People came and saw his animals and thought it was great. And if they only knew what was happening behind the scenes, just like you see in Tiger King, it would end. It would end. So yeah, that was a very traumatic experience. I try not to think about it, but it haunts me, and the noise of walking in that building just haunts me. So Ruth has a more different question. So cub petting, we talked about that the USDA, or legally, the public can handle and do selfies with cubs from 8 to 12 weeks old. And it used to be they could do it much longer time. And the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, who license anybody commercially using animals and license these roadside zoos, closed that window down to 8 to 12 weeks, thinking it was helping with public safety. What happened is the breeders adapted, and now they have a less window to use a big cat. So they just increased the speed breeding, or the amount of cubs they're breeding, to try and always have some cub within the 8 to 12 week window. So the question was enforcement. How do we know they're not using 13 or 14 week old cats? The sad part is you have to look at the physicality of the animal, the size of the animal, to make your best guess when you are an inspector and inspecting these places. But we know that breeders and dealers keep these cubs a lot of times malnourished, so they stay smaller and can be used longer. It's a really sad cycle. So our goal is, with the Big Cat Public Safety Act, we would close that loophole. There would be no longer public contact allowed with cubs, which would take away this need to excessively breed and breed and breed and always have cubs. And so right now it's the United States Department of Agriculture that enforces it, but with the Big Cat Public Safety Act, it would be federal, not just licensed by the USDA, which is also federal. All right, so more questions. Another question that came in is it better to give on Facebook or your website, and what is the difference? Well, first of all, we want people to give the way they are most comfortable giving, but let me tell you a little bit. So on Facebook right now, there is no fees. So 100% of your gift goes to the sanctuary. It does take us 30 days to get a check from Facebook, or it goes into our bank account. And the challenge with Facebook only is that if you give and you've given to other places before and you just hit give and click, you don't always, as a donor, give us your email and your address to put you in our database so we can, one, thank you, because we'd love to do that, to have your gift maybe count towards overall giving. So it comes in as a lump sum, not necessarily tracked to you as the donor. But if you are making sure, if you're giving on Facebook, to click that yes, we can contact you, and click that we get your email address and everything else, because sometimes it just comes in as anonymous, or it comes in as your first name, but we have no email, no phone number, no address to thank you. So we apologize when we don't thank you. Our website does charge the credit card processing fees, but it is very secure and it goes directly into our donor database. So we have all your information. We don't have to enter it, so it saves accounting time. So there's not one better than the other. It's if you want all your gift and not to pay a fee, Facebook is great. But if you want us to know who you are, so you get Uproar magazine and we can acknowledge your wonderful gift, then I would go through our website, because also for tax deductions, when you give on Facebook, you need the Facebook receipt, not a receipt from the sanctuary or nonprofit you're giving to. All right, so Lori asks, was my previous job in advertising, did it help or hinder me being an executive director of a sanctuary? Well, I think it did both. One is when I was in advertising and working for an ad agency, and even when I worked at the Coca-Cola company, I was working with millions and millions and millions of dollars in budget. So I got to pay for ads and pay for programs. Come here, sweetheart. You're going to close the computer again, I know. And when I became a nonprofit, I had to learn how to fundraise with a zero budget. And nobody in my degree taught me how to do that, and nobody in advertising taught me how to do that. So I think that's how it helped me, is that I love to write, and I also love to tell you personally what's going on at the sanctuary. And mostly because I know why I'm still committed, even though I have missed birthdays, I haven't had a family. My husband puts up with me being gone all the time and getting called away at Christmas, is because I know why I do it. So if I can share with you exactly what we're all experiencing day to day at the sanctuary, then I feel like you guys are connected to it too. And that's what I try and do. Sheila asks, do we have enough land to expand, or is our land big enough to expand? Well, we are a 100 animal facility, so we sometimes fluctuate up to 130. Oh, sorry, sweetie. I've got somebody wanting to snuggle so much. And so we do have open habitats right now due to losses, due to cats that have passed. So right now we can accept cats. We are kind of full on servals, but luckily we work with a network of sanctuaries that could accommodate an African serval if they got a call. But our land is built out habitat-wise. So, but we do have open spaces. Are we looking to buy adjacent land for more animal count? Probably not, because the attrition that happens with our cats passing of old age has left us enough space to still rescue. And so right now we want to keep the habitats full that are already built out. But if we buy more land, we need it for more housing for interns and staff. And we also want to give some of that land back to the wildlife and keep it raw. I mean, we know we're saving tigers and animals, and so we're doing good with the land, but we also know as we build habitats and do other things, we are, come here, honey, let's get down. Thank you. We are taking away from native wildlife, and so that's part of what buying adjacent land would do, is allow us to keep some of it raw for native wildlife. Susan asks, with COVID-19 and projected donations to go down overall in the world, are we have any construction plans on hold? So we are monitoring that on a day-by-day basis. So when people give us donations for specific projects, like a great organization called Trees for Tigers, just gave some money for some rocks, some platforms, some painting, some indoor rooms so that it's more cheery for the cats, and indoor furniture and mounds. That's called restricted funding, and we can only spend it on what that donor intent was. So those projects, we are still going to continue to give the cats those projects. We also already purchased all the fencing to upgrade 2 to 3 hybrid haven yards this year, so we're going to proceed with that. We have platforms and things going in. The only project that we're a little bit not getting rid of, but putting on hold till we know a little bit more about funding and a little bit more about how construction plans are going, is the new animal care center and hospital. And it's only going to be on hold a few months, but what we've done is broken it into phases that we could stop at this phase if funding drops, before we have to move to the next phase. So instead of taking on a huge $800,000 project, breaking it up into $200,000 or $300,000 segments so that we could safely stop the project, and what work has been done will not be ruined. You know, it's not going to be ruined by winter or whatever, and we can pick it up or continue as funding comes in. But as always, we want to protect that general operating money that comes in, like you guys are giving to Miracle Match, so that the lights stay on, the food is done, the enrichments, vet care's there, the caretakers are being paid for, all that daily stuff that the animals need. We're being very, very cautious of that. So right now, we don't have huge plans on hold, but we had some ideas about another intern house, which we'd still like to do, and we have to figure out if you, our donors, would support that. And our biggest need is we could expand the program, but we also know there's going to be a new normal. And that new normal is we need to space out people. So right now, if we have 8 interns in a house and one gets sick, even though we have quarantine procedures in place and other places for them to stay, the reality is they all might get sick. And so as we move forward, we're looking at building more housing, spreading people out more, because we do think this is going to be a new normal. So good question there, though. So the other thing is, Shauna, I have a few personal questions people asked, and I don't mind sharing personally. I just feel like it's a little boring because what's exciting about me is the sanctuary. But somebody asked, how do I get all the cats and pets in my house to get along? There is drama in the house, but I look at it similar as that we do play dates with bobcats or even big cats, is when I introduce cats, I have 6 at home. One is the cats have their own safe room. They can run the house whenever they want, but there's a safe room that they can get locked into, shut, and it has so many perches and platforms and jumping apparatuses and scratching things that they know when they're in there, they won't be bothered by the dogs, they won't be bothered by any of us, or a vacuum or anything. And so they always have a safe room to go to. But when I get a new cat, the new cat stays here in my office and they have their own individual safe room. And then we slowly do play dates. And my play dates, I always give animals, whether it's a bobcat, a tiger, or a domestic cat, plenty to do instead of focusing on each other. So that would be catnip. That might be enrichment. For big cats, it's tons of their enrichment toys, even their vegetable paints, stuff that they would be preoccupied with, but they're kind of cohabitating while they do that. And then we always have rewards. So I might have treats, not treats that they get possessive over, so not their meals, but treats that they can pick up and run away with. And so eventually they get closer to each other while we give treats, and they're getting rewarded for sitting next to each other without anything negative. So it sounds like it always happens so smoothly. Not always. There's a dominant cat, very submissive, and now that I add a new dog, it stirred up the whole house. But it's very similar to I do any introductions with hybrids or anything at the sanctuary. And somebody, Shauna, asked a really cute question. Do we ever get to meet my husband? Like, he's so elusive. Well, I'll put it this way. I've been married for a very long time. I've known him for 20 years. And I probably have about 4 pictures of him. He's very camera shy. He is very humble. And so the funny thing is, this is what I can show you. This is one of my frame pictures we have in the house of him, which is of Gopher, a dog that passed away, and I have a leg and arm of my husband, and that's about all he'll let me put in a frame. So he does exist. He is awesome at letting me take care of the sanctuary, and he holds down the house. He's never thoroughly complained every time I bring home another pet. He always works it in for me. He thinks he doesn't have a say, but he does. He's been great with all the pets and everything. So thank you for that. The other thing is, people ask me about Tiger Amnesty Day. So off my personal life, is that Tiger Amnesty Day it's actually a whole week. We've been on local media. We don't know if we're going to get any takers because we really need national media to pick this up to make a difference. But Tiger Amnesty Week is, you know what, there's been so much talk about the characters in Tiger King, and we want to talk and put the focus on the victims, the tigers and the big cats. And so what we're offering to do is that if anybody needs to or is willing to surrender their wild cat, big cat, whether it's a pet, a roadside zoo, whether it's they were doing bad stuff and they don't want to, whether they're great people but right now can't care for their animal because of COVID, or their facility is shut down for tours, we are willing at no cost to them to go pick up those animals and bring them and provide a life at our sanctuary. But we need to get the message out. We will do all the work. We'll take on all the expense because we want to get those animals to a safe sanctuary and a better place. So, our biggest thing is we get calls all the time from people that want to shut down a place or says there's a tiger in need here or there. The reality with Tiger Amnesty Week is we need the owners, the legal owners of the animals, to tell us they want us to come take the animal. We can't really start investigations or anything right now. Those are always in the works, but we need the owner to say, it's time, I need to give up my animal, can you help? So we're willing to do that. And we're willing to do that, and we're able to do that because people like you donate to Miracle Match. And I'll keep promoting Miracle Match, and so many of you given. But now through April 30th, we are trying to raise 5 months of operating. And so that means if you give 10, it becomes 20, 20 becomes 40. And I think people forget we are still one of the smaller budget sanctuaries with a lower number of staff. We have the same size land and sometimes even more animals than other sanctuaries. We definitely want you to support them. They're all doing good work, but we know we really work hard to make your donation go far. And I know they all do, but we just want to remind people think we're so much bigger than we are, and we have so much more staff. We're not. We just have people working hard and always putting the animals first, and then always putting our donors second, so that you know what's going on at the sanctuary. So it feels much bigger. So every gift you give is so extremely appreciated. Those were most of the questions. A lot of the other questions came in were, how do we feel about AZA zoos? We also had already answered that last week, but there's good and bad in every industry. We support accredited zoos, and sometimes we support certain things they do and not others. But when we say is our job, we don't want to shut down AZA accredited zoos. Our job is to shut down what we call the bottom feeders, the people that are exploiting animals, the people that are overbreeding cubs and selling them on the black market and to other people as private owners. So we really support breeding if it's part of the species survival program, not people that are just breeding to have animals live in cages. So I think that's it today. And again, I apologize for all the Facebook problems. I just think there's so many people on Facebook that its live posts aren't always working. But I'm so glad to be here to answer your questions, and I'm really excited. I'm going back on site to the sanctuary tomorrow. I've been away longer than I ever have, and I am so anxious to see everybody, and I will definitely try and bring you live posts of the cats. Again, we're at Facebook's beck and call, and when there's too many people on Facebook and too many live posts, things get bogged down. But we will continue to try and do that because we know that's what you want to see. So thank you again for being out there for us. Thank you for spreading the word. Spread the word about Miracle Match, Tiger Amnesty. Every post you share really, really, really makes a difference. I do know that people have asked, I don't have money right now. How can I help? Well, there's still so many ways to help, and that's free way is sharing our posts. It's also educating people on your own social media and who you talk to, and the people that right now you can look at some planned giving options. If you don't have cash right now and you need it for yourself, we want you to put yourself first. But you can always help a legacy down the road through our legacy or planned giving, and that's on our website too. So there's so many free ways or deferred ways to give, and ways to help that we know if cash flow is hard, we want you to take care of those four-legged family members and your two-legged family members first. So thank you again, and please support the Big Cat Public Safety Act. You'll be hearing more about it. And if you have other questions, you can always post them in the comments, and I know Judson's doing a great job of answering those for you. So again, thanks everyone, and we'll be in touch soon.